The second time in a week, a celebrity suicide. Anthony Bourdain was found dead in his hotel room in France this morning.
He was there filming an episode for his show Parts Unknown, and his death comes just days after designer Kate Spade committed suicide in New York City. Their deaths are shining a spotlight on a trend in America: suicides on the rise among middle-aged people.
Experts say knowing the warning signs can help stop a crisis from becoming a tragedy. Ralph Iannotti is here with a look at some of those signs. Ralph.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ken and Susan. The Centers for Disease Control says the highest suicide rates involve people between the ages of 45 and 64. It's a national problem, the severity underscored by these two high-profile suicides.
The week began with the shocking news that fashion designer Kate Spade committed suicide in her New York City apartment. She was 55.
The history of the world, as one chef told me, is in this plate. It's telling a story.
The week is ending with word that celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain took his life in Paris. He was 61. We're shocked because they were both rich and famous people. They seemed to have everything: success, money, fame. But like millions of others, they struggled with mental illness. In fact, the government says suicide rates in nearly every state have jumped on the average more than 30%. The nagging question: why?
That's the $64,000 question. I'm not sure anyone can answer that yet. It's clearly, this is not a statistical aberration. It's a 15-year trend from 15 years ago to now. And something's going on that's different than it used to be, and more people are taking their lives.
Dr. Van Nickel at the Allegheny Health Network says when it comes to suicide prevention, there are warning signs.
Major depression, somebody who's clinically depressed and not being treated. Somebody who is abusing alcohol or substances puts them at higher risk. Anyone who has had a prior suicide attempt, even if it's something like taking aspirin and calling the EMS, that puts them at higher risk of having a completed suicide later in life.
Jennifer Sikora knows the heartbreak firsthand of losing a loved one to suicide. Her sister took her life in 2001. And Sikora, too, says she struggled with suicidal thoughts in 2012, but she's now doing much better.
There's no treatment that is cookie cutter, right? What works for one person might not work for somebody else. So you really need to, trial and error sometimes to find out what treatment approach is going to work best for you. But have some patience with it, stick with it.
Now, there are lots of resources available if you or someone you know might be at risk of suicide. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline provides free and confidential support 24 hours a day. You can also text HELLO to 741-741. Trained crisis counselors are available around the clock. We also have all this information and more posted at KDKA.com. Now, the numbers aren't in yet from last year, but in 2016, sadly, the government said there were an estimated 45,000 suicides nationwide. I'm Ralph Iannotti.